Hi, we're here with Andy.
William
the second Huneycutt. Thank you for joining me. We're again here at SharePoint Saturday Charlotte, and Andy William is.
We can go with Andy. I'm the same
I'll
person.
go with William. That's fine.
No, I'm the same person.
Okay. Is one of the organizers of the event. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. So you're also speaking
Yes.
today. So what did you speak on today?
2 sessions today. So glutton for punishment. Did a session on business process automation with some advanced workflow application thrown in, and then I'll be doing another session this afternoon on introduction to communication sites.
Okay, cool. So today we're talking about Office 365 administration. What is your favorite feature or feature set for Office 365 administration, whether it's across all services or individual services? What's your favorite?
So I spend most of my time doing business process automation. Those are the things I really gravitate toward, and that's things like collecting information, working with forms, working with workflow, and it ends up being a composite solution. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So for me, really, the thing I think that I'm most excited about has been the implementation of both PowerApps and Flow into that entire ecosystem, and the way that that's starting to change how we think about business process automation, because it's kind of opening up this environment to more users and not so many specialized users with some of the different tools that we would have to use in the past. So I've been really impressed with that rollout and the features that they can continue to give us. I know I joke in class a whole lot whenever I'm doing training. It's like it used to be we get new features every 2 to 3 years, and I feel like now I'm getting something like every 2 to 3 days, and like it's making my head spin. So it's been pretty cool to see those things rolled out. So for me, that's kind of an administrative thing. It's like getting a grip on what I can do with these things to supplement what I enjoy doing, which is business process automation.
So does that, though, that brings some flavor of, for me it does, some flavor of frustration, though, when new things roll out and you're working on, maybe you're working on the premise that that's not available, but it actually is. So that's a little frustrating when new things come out. But then also, sometimes new things come out and might augment or alter what you're already doing in a negative way, right? So do you run into that a lot too?
All the time. Like I can't tell you how many times I've rolled out a demo, here's how I do this, and there's a new feature there, and it's just like, well, let's go down the rabbit hole. Like, you know, I'm pretty used to doing that, being in the classroom as much as I am. For example, when the modern UI went live, I was in the middle of a class. We were working with a document library. We were doing some information management policies. Go in, go to do the demo. We launched in, it was in the classic UI, and then we turned back around and this is the modern UI. And I'm like, congratulations, it's live in my tenant, welcome to the modern UI. But I'd had some preliminary education on it, so I knew what was coming down the road. And it's kind of the same thing with Flow and PowerApps. The teams are doing a good job of announcing and putting out blogs and putting out articles. But every now and then, it's like, this is coming, we just don't know when. It's like, it's gonna come in the fall, which fall? So that's the kind of go back to, or what I go to with that one. Yeah. But having the information ahead of time is helpful, so that when it does go live, I can kind of deal with it. Now, from a production environment standpoint, like we have to put the brakes on some of this, because some of my clients, we need time to kind of test. Is it going to be compliant with certain regulations? How is this going to affect the team? Like, for example, for a while, the person that created the flow owned the flow. They were the one that could edit the flow, and then they gave us team flows, so we can have some level of team oversight on top of that. But prior to that, it was just kind of like, okay, how do we do this? And so some people kind of went with the service account. They create an Office 365 service account, a dummy account, and they would use that to provision the flow that they were going to test in their production environment. But with team flows, we can get that team ownership and team editing capabilities, and we can kind of pass it on. So little things like that have been nice. Okay.
So if there was, you can wave a magic wand, what feature in Office 365 administration, again, across the board or individual services, what would that be that if you could wave a magic wand to implement, what would that feature be, or that functionality be?
So They're kind of doing some of this now, but let me back up a step and kind of give a perspective, and then build back up into the answer.
Okay.
One of the things I like about business process automation, and I do an example around it, is being able to use like a single SharePoint site to put together a business solution. It's one stop for everything that matters for that one business solution. So I'm using multiple lists tied in to each other, using content types and workflows. I'm using pages and page design to drop in various web parts that complement one another to create kind of a portal for that one solution, one stop. And I really like driving users to that one place to get everything that they need. But when I start moving to some of the new features like PowerApps and Flow and Planner and then tying that back into SharePoint, I feel kind of disjointed, like I have to go to 3 or 4 separate places to kind of get information, and I don't get that one-stop shop. They kind of address that with Microsoft Teams, and I love Teams. But I'm
with the tabs, you're saying?
Yeah,
that,
yeah, being able to use the tabs and drop all that in one application. And I love Teams, but I'm a tenant of one, so like my ability to kind of test that in real production environment gets kind of limited. So I have to create dummy accounts and work with that. Yeah. I just wish there were a way that I could kind of tie it all in a little bit more, and I feel like we're getting some of those features. Like we're later this summer, as of this recording here in August, we're supposed to be getting the ability to overlay a Power App form on top of a SharePoint list in the web browser. I'm really looking forward to that functionality because that's going to give me in that one place, and then I can tie the flow to it from there, and so I get 3 of the pieces that I want. But then being able to tie into like Planner, like I don't remember if there's a Planner web part at the current time. I think there's a tie-in with Teams, but maybe like being able to get a Planner web part to tie into a SharePoint page, so it's all in one place, and then like maybe be able to get a Power App web part to show maybe administrative or like reports, and then a Flow web part to show administrative and reports, so I can get it on one page, drop it in my SharePoint site, point my manager at it, and then everything's kind of there. Or maybe get a Planner web part on a page so that I can showcase that along with like list-related activities for the user. So the tools are all there. It's just kind of figuring out how we can integrate it into, for me, really one point of integration for the user, because I think that kind of helps productivity. If I have to go to 4 or 5 places to get something, I kind of lose interest, and I think a lot of users kind of feel that from an adoption level. So if I could get like one point of integration to kind of put some of those pieces together, I think that would kind of really take this to the next level, because these tools are like really, they are next level compared to what we've kind of struggled to work through with all the different solutions we've had previously, whether out of the box or third party in some cases. But if we could get that like one integration and like what we have coming down the road, PowerApps and Flow, I feel like it could be something way bigger than the sum of the parts.
Gotcha. And I think some of that reporting we do have with Power BI. So being able to add Power BI to modern pages and then report on those other services. There are some gaps, I think, personally, with plugging in PowerApps with some of that and getting what you want, but that might be the path that we have to take.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's a bad thing, but
I'm a big
because
fan
you're
of
keeping the information in that service and reporting off of it, but it might work for most people. I don't know. What do you think about doing something? Is Power BI something that would, if we could plug into all of those things and report off of those things?
Yeah, if you can get one stop for reporting based off of that, and like so I can run analytics on like, okay, here's my flows and here's the performance of that, and tie that back into like task completion percentage and things like that, I think that could be really big. So if Power BI can tie into that and that becomes the tool and it integrates to the Power BI web part, that's great. I would love to see that functionality there. I guess kind of bouncing back a little bit though to like specifics related to like putting it together in the integration. I guess I kind of want a Planner web part, kind of integrate that in the SharePoint, because that's where I spend most of my time. That's where I'm more with, here's how SharePoint applies to these users, and then we integrate into I introduce in other parts of Office 365 and start tying it all together. It's just when you start integrating those other parts, you got to go here and here and here. So that's it. But yeah, definitely, I think if we can do reporting through Power BI and we could tie into some of those other services and kind of put it in one report, one place, that would be great. That would be a huge help.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking a little bit of time out of your very busy schedule. I know you've been busy today.
This has been a crazy day.
So thank you very much.
No, thank you. I'm glad you came out, spoke this morning. Power BI, heard it was a really good session, so I'm glad you came out.
It was a great session. I enjoyed it, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and everyone, make sure you check out the Office 365 The Week That Was web show.